how many ambulances do we need? They really didn't know, but maybe 2, maybe 3. We'll be upwards of 30 new employees to get into transport, if what they were telling me was accurate. Now, what is the revenue that's going to come back on transport to Port Orange? None of this has been fleshed out, resolved. Even the simplest of questioning will demonstrate that, as happened with the fire union. And I had a wonderful conversation with them, but they certainly were not prepared to give any hard numbers, and they're right at the heart of it. So the truth is that would have to be analyzed in great detail to see if it would make sense for Port Orange to get into the transport business. Answer is I don't know the answer. I'm a numbers person. Show me the numbers, and then I'll make a decision for sure.
That's a great question. If you're the person that's on the side of the road, lying down and needing help, however many people you have around you helping you is not enough. And if you're the guy driving down the road and you see the ambulance and the fire truck and the police, and you see all those emergency services, and you see most of them standing around and a couple people doing the work, you go, wow, that just seems like an overcommitment of resources. So you have a different perspective when you're the person on the ground needing help versus the person driving by. So there are a lot of different angles to this. Ponce Inlet, small community. Edgewater, small community, remote, outside of the system, at the edges of the system. It's a risk-based model. When an ambulance call is answered by somebody, they shuffle them around and they reposition what's in call and what's in service so that they can cover the widest area based on who's out and in service at any given time. I tell you what, it does seem interesting when our fire services arrive the majority of the time first, and we work up an assessment, we help the person, we do their vitals, we get them all prepped, and then the ambulance arrives, and they basically get them in the ambulance, and they basically start over with those same assessments. I'm the guy in the gurney, I'm like, let's go to the hospital now, I'm ready. So there seems like a certain duplicity by having fire services and ambulance. I don't know if the numbers work, but the bottom line is, I don't think the county's going to give it up anyway. Reason being, those smaller communities, they don't get a lot of service, but they've got to make sure it's a risk-based model, that they're covered on the outside fringes of the county. We're 60,000 people in the city of Port Orange. We've got nearly 70% of the people who are transported pay their bills. In Daytona Beach, that number is 26%. So in essence, communities like Port Orange, Ormond Beach are carrying cities like Daytona Beach, South Daytona, Holly Hill, where they have fewer ratepayers. So it might make sense for us to transport. I don't know what the numbers are, but I know from an efficiency standpoint, I don't know if we need all those emergency services. You roll an ambulance and a fire truck. We have advanced life support trained paramedics on our fire trucks. And because of that, I think they give great service. I'd like to see them have the opportunity, and I'd like to take a look at the numbers. I really would. And if it makes sense from an efficiency standpoint, I'd like to do it. Bottom line is, I live in the real world. The county isn't going to give this up. They're just not.
Okay, Mr. Naftal, do you propose to bring more transparency to Port Orange city finances, and how?
Absolutely, I propose to bring more transparency to all of Port Orange government, including finance. Now you say, how would I do that? I would do that by insisting on proper financial reporting. The only proper financial reporting we get is once a year, the annual comprehensive report, the CAFR. That's it. We get that 4 or 5 or 6 months after year end. During the year, the information we get is cherry-picked, it is incomplete, and it is accepted by council. And it has been for the last 6 years and perhaps the last 16 years. That has to change. We need to be insistent on proper, complete, comprehensive financial reporting, certainly on a quarterly basis in Port Orange, if not monthly. Now, the audit findings in this year's comprehensive annual financial report are horrific in my judgment. The first finding is they don't reconcile, they hadn't reconciled a bank account monthly. Well, what's up with that? You and I in this room reconcile our bank accounts on a monthly basis. Why is the city held to any lower standard? They don't know how to set up an allowance for doubtful accounts. They don't know how to properly accrue revenue within contracts. They don't know how to properly accrue expenses, retainage. The Port Orange Finance Department is not used to reporting properly. Do we have people there that are competent to do that? I don't know. I would like to find out. All I know is that it is not being done at present. And it doesn't appear to be a priority of this council. It doesn't appear to have been a priority of this council. We're hearing a lot of talk now about this old antiquated system we've got, and we need to replace it with a new $1 million system. Okay, is it an old system? Absolutely, but was it ever state-of-the-art? The answer is it certainly was state-of-the-art. And our problem, and if people think that a brand new $1 million system, you are just gonna press a button and all of the deficiencies that the auditor noted this year are going to be solved by that new computer, that is not the case. You are still gonna need accountants that are capable of massaging and turning these numbers into proper financial statements. The other thing I will say about the system we have is that it is still in use in Ormond Beach. And I'm not hearing any criticism coming from Ormond regarding their accounting system, their accounting software. So that's kind of long-winded as to what I would certainly look to do with the Port Orange finances.
All right, we're gonna put a timer on this one. So, 2 minutes. And we may have follow-up. And it's a one-word question, or one-word topic. Riverwalk.
Important. It needs to get off the ground, and needs to get off the ground now.
I'm sorry, you want
Riverwalk, just what, yeah.
one?
No, I'm not asking for one word, I'm just asking for, my one word was Riverwalk. So perhaps I should allow Mr. Green to expand his answer. It was it's important.
all I need.
That's okay, all right?
Well, the one word that comes to mind when I hear Riverwalk is sellout. Riverwalk into Port Orange taxpayer interests are being sold out in Riverwalk. Make no mistake about it. In the last 2 weeks, a series of secret meetings took place between the mayor and council and the Liqueur Group. And the Liqueur Group was given everything they have asked for. Riverwalk is a tragedy. It is the last large tract of land on the river, and every inch of it should be acquired by the city for future use, future residents and their parkland needs. We all know what's going on here. By one incremental decision after another incremental decision, we have given the Liqueur Group everything they have asked for in the way of concessions. And I will ask you here tonight, tell me, give me back one concession that's come from Liqueur to the taxpayers. And I don't think anybody is going to be able to take me up on that offer. And then I'll ask you another question. Who has been negotiating on taxpayers' behalf? That's a fair question. It's been asked at council, and when it's asked at council, I get scowled at by the mayor. What a horrible question to ask, but it's a fair question. Who is negotiating on behalf of the taxpayers? The answer is no one. At the last Liqueur presentation, towards the end of it, the civil engineer got up and said, you know, we didn't put on a presentation here tonight. They didn't. The attorney, the city attorney, and the city manager put on Liqueur's presentation. I hope Liqueur paid their salary that week. He should have. So the word that comes to mind is sellout, and I would very much like to see this nipped in its buds. If anyone was negotiating on our behalf, the focal point of the park would be the point, the old Sweetwater location. As it, okay, thank you.
Somebody must have been at a different meeting when we didn't give Mr. Liqueur exactly what he wanted. Riverwalk is so many more things than just whatever LaCour wants to build there as far as a restaurant or condos. And that's part of the reason why we're moving forward. We're done waiting on him. It's part of the reason why we're moving forward. We've already opened Phase 1A of the Riverwalk Park. We're working on Phase 1B now. Those bids are about to go out. That's about to go out for bid. And the reason why we're doing that is we're not going to stand. We own a very large tract of land there, and we're going to develop that into a very nice park, which was the elements of which were decided by citizen input at a meeting which 200 citizens showed up and told us what we wanted. So as far as that's concerned, we're moving forward whether he's ready to build or not. I've been on council and have heard him say, yeah, I'm ready to build a restaurant, I'm ready to build a building, and I'm waiting on him. The problem is from a financial standpoint, would I have done what was done in the past? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and it's easy for me to say I wouldn't have done things the way that was done in the past, the way land was acquired and the way land was moved around. But we are what we are. We have some debt on some of the land that we have, and unless we have improvements come out of the ground that generate revenue, we're going to continue to be paying the debt. And the thing is that we can't just do that in perpetuity. That CRA is going to sunset in roughly 20 years.
CRA.
The Riverwalk Town Center CRA is going to sunset. And every year during those 20 years where we have nothing developed, which we receive extra revenue from, to settle those debts is a lost year. The other thing is that without that revenue, improvements on the south side can't happen. So we got to move it forward.
Okay, you may have answered this question, but this one is addressed to you, Mr. Nassau. Do you believe the now proposed property exchange for Riverwalk should be open for vote by the taxpayers?
You notice in my previous answer, I referenced secret meetings. And I asked who was negotiating on behalf of taxpayers. And the gentleman that followed me elected not to answer that. He just elected to give us some old smoke and mirrors like we've gotten here before. We've got to get going, got to get this, blah, 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 blah. I think that the taxpayer assets need to be more properly protected in this town. And if council cannot do that, then perhaps that does need to go to the people as a vote. So I would not be opposed to that, given how poorly councils have protected the taxpayers' interest in that Riverwalk investment. But the big thing here, guys, don't lose sight of it, is that we are going to lose that site. And when it's gone, it is gone forever. Every inch of that 29 acres should be acquired by the city and held in perpetuity. And let's let the next generation build the park if need be. If we don't have the funds to do it, let's just acquire it and pass it on to the next generation.
All right, this is a continued follow-up on that, and we'll invoke our timer once again for 2 minutes. Okay? Can you shed light on the land deal where the current mayor has given or deeded city land that belongs to the citizens to developer LaCour?
Again, I'm not involved in that particular process. I do know that the Riverwalk is a joint venture type of project, same as what we had at Cypress Heads Golf Course. Cypress Heads Golf Course, as an example, was one of the first joint ventures between the city and a developer. And we developed a golf course and we developed beautiful homes out on it, and overall as a whole, the tax base that's generated from all the homes in the area have done very well for it. As far as these land deals down here, I'm not exactly, without doing my homework, I can't answer to all the questions. I will tell you that I would do my homework and to be able to provide a better answer, but I do know that it's a joint venture type of deal. There is going to be some give and take to be able to move the project forward, and that's without doing some more homework. That's all I can say to that.
Okay, we start, go ahead. I think you made yourself pretty clear where you stand with that, but if you...
Well, let's get to the
have 2
bottom of
minutes.
it. Let's get to the bottom of it. Have secret meetings taken place in the last 2 weeks? Has the deal already been brokered? Is this coming back before council as a show trial of sorts where we're going to pretend it's all going to be negotiated in public? That's the real question. That's what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Council and the mayor have met with LaCour and his group, and the deal has been done. LaCour is going to get the road, and he promises to maintain it. He's going to get the funeral home, and in return, we're going to get an easement back on the home, on the road. And then we are just going to restore commercial rights to the point for nothing. Now, the deal that was just brokered is LaCour is going to let us keep that little portion of the road. We're not going to get that whole easement, we're going to keep it. Now, isn't that nice of LaCour? He's going to let us keep what we already own. This is a sellout, it has been from the beginning. Answer the question. Who's ever negotiated on the taxpayers' behalf? Every silly proposal LaCour has brought forward on that block of land has been adopted by council like it was manna from heaven. And that is wrong, and that needs to change. I hope this becomes the focal point of the election, the willingness of the current council to go along with LaCour. To answer your specific question, though, I'm not aware that there's been any actual deed over to LaCour at this point. It's all coming in one big rush, but I'm not aware of any that has actually happened. Thank you.
I tell you what, since none of this has actually happened yet, we haven't swapped any land anywhere. It's kind of hard to say that what will or will not happen. Have I met with Mr. LaCour and has he told me what he'd like to do? Yeah. You know what? I've met with a lot of people. You want to call it a secret meeting? That's fine. But I tell you what, somebody defined in a blog what they would do to avoid a secret meeting, and that would be to keep the door open. Anybody wanting to wander in could. It's pretty much how I do it. I've met with citizens at City Hall on individual issues. So if anybody wants to wander in during those meetings, they can. I am not going to not meet with people that are willing to give me information most of the time unless I think it's going to be a waste of my time. So you could sit here and have long meeting after long meeting after long meeting imparting some of that information. I need to learn and have good information to make good decisions. Tell you what, I was not a fan of the original Loman's funeral home purchase. City paid $800,000 to get it. They'll never get it back. There's no way. That property is maybe worth an eighth of that. But to get that back would be like saying, I'm going to charge, I blew it and blew my investment on my house that I paid $500,000 for, even though it's worth $250,000 now, I'm going to expect somebody to pay $500,000 for it. It doesn't happen. It's not realistic. I want to deal in real terms on how to solve the problems with Riverwalk. That investment will allow things to happen and blossom all the way up and down this corridor. So it's important that we do something there. I'm not going to get, I may want to be able to do something and allow some things. Sometimes you lose the battle to win the war. Whatever's happened in the past is the past. He's still not built anything down there. And he's, you know, and as far as I'm concerned with it, he's concerned seeing is believing. But I need to see something because this whole corridor will benefit from what happens down there.
Do you have any aspirations for continued public office of past mayor?
I do not.
No, ma'am, I sure don't.
I can't say what the future's going to hold. All I know is that right now I love Port Orange. I love what I do. I've met a lot of people. I've met a lot of friends. And I think I've been able to do some good and make a difference. And all I want to do right now is make a difference for the next 4 years in the city that I live in. For its residents, for my family, for my friends. And that's all I'm focused on.
Okay, would you have a closing statement you'd like to make?
Again, I come in front of you as a longtime person, you know, resident of Port Orange who truly cares about everybody in Port Orange. I'm not here to micromanage Port Orange, and I'm not here to insult everybody within our city as we have with some of the others here. What I'm here to do is to bring our council together, to move forward. I'm here to provide positive leadership and move us ahead. I know we've made mistakes. I'm not a part of the mistakes. I'm going to be part of the future.
My two opponents in this race are status quo candidates in every sense of the word. One has agreed with the mayor consistently for the past 6 years in hopes of getting his endorsement, and the other is his son. One believes that because he has been on council for 6 years, he deserves to be mayor, and that to listen to him, I want to roll up government and turn off the lights. The other believes that because his father has been mayor for 30 years, he needs to be the mayor for the next 20 years. And that I dislike, actually he used the word hate, but I will not use that word. I'll take it back to dislike. And that I dislike everything about Port Orange. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they are both wrong. The only part of government I want to end is the inefficiency of government, like public works, cutting grass at a taxpayer cost of $200 an acre when the private sector can do it and do it better for $80 an acre. And the only thing I dislike here is the arrogance of anyone to suggest that after 30 years of Green Senior, we need Green Junior for the next 20 years. Port Orange is a great place to live, raise a family, operate a business, not because of how much money my opponents are willing to spend, but because of residents like you who do this city proud every day. Port Orange residents deserve a government as good as they are, and I intend to see that they get one. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity for all three of us to speak to you tonight. And I think that there's a lot to be learned. I can sit here and give a stump speech, but I think questions that come from you guys are really enlightening for you all, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all tonight and answer your questions. I've lived here all my life, and I think all three of us, there's no doubt that all three of us love the community that we live in. I live here for a reason. I'm looking at my son back there who thinks he's operating a camera phone. I look and see friends in the room. I really appreciate the community that we live in. I've been working for 6 years for this community. I want to continue to work for it for another 4. I think that I've made a good case based on my history and the things that I've worked in, things that I believe in, whether that be family, friendship, God.